Hey guys, Jeremy Mitchell with Sales Pride Podcast. This is our first ever podcast, and I wanted to hit this thing right out of the park. Bring on the man, Andy Elliott. Appreciate you having me out here. This podcast, guys, is, I named it Sales Pride for two reasons. Number one is, sales is kind of like a four-letter word for people, and I want you to have pride because ultimately what being in sales is all about is helping people solve their problems. Okay? That's a admirable quality. You should be proud to be in sales. Number two is I want to create a community of fellow lions. Literally, my logo is a lion as well, just like Andy's here.
It's crazy.
And it's what do they call a group of lions?
Yeah, pride.
It's a pride, right? And it goes back to a story, and maybe I'll tell the story later with my uncle. But first of all, Andy, thank you for having me out here.
Yeah,
Thanks
I appreciate
for being
you.
on here.
Yeah, hey guys, if you listen to what he just said, right? He said, look, if you do a good job, if you're good at sales, if you got a good product, you're actually doing your client a disservice if you don't sell them.
Absolutely.
Okay, because number one, they're going to continue to struggle. Number two, they're going to stay the same. And number three, they could end up with one of your competitors that don't care.
Exactly.
Right? So hey,
100%.
if you're good at what you do and you believe in your product, like you're doing them a disservice, not selling it. And by the way, I love what you said. You said we help people help themselves.
Yes.
Okay, right? You said we
sir.
help people help themselves. Like our goal is, as a sales rep, is your goal is to take the client's goals, your goal is to take the client's goals and keep them at the center of the decision. They're going to make a decision, and as long as their goals are at the center of it, everybody will say yes. There's no stress, there's no pressure, there's no nothing. And I think a lot of people hate salespeople because they're not good at their job. If I went to buy something and the person that was supposed to help make it easy on me made it harder on me, well, I'd probably hate them too.
Right.
And stuff's expensive. It's going to cost more. Inflation is real.
Right.
And that's why salespeople have to do a better job than ever, making sure that people understand and explain the value of products.
Right, and just differentiating themselves from not just my own selfish interest, but I'm actually here to serve you, to and listen to you and pay attention to what your problems are. And it's perfect that you said that because it's a perfect segue because first of all, I'm really big into personal development. I just joined the Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership Program. For the people, for people that don't know what that means, basically I paid $80,000 just to be in the room with Tony Robbins and go to all of his events, plus another $40,000 or $50,000 in travel to be front and center in all of his events.
Yeah, but what it costs you not to know what that man knows or to understand the way he operates is millions.
Right.
Okay. Like I just want to tell you, always remember this is not what it costs. It's what it costs you not to know.
Not do it.
Yeah.
And that leads right into my first question is I've paid sales trainers $20,000, $30,000 and I had a lot of people at my company, my former company, laugh at me and say, why are you paying that so much money for that type of development? So as you were going up in the car sales game, who were your mentors and who did you invest in to help increase your skill level to get to where you got to?
Anybody and everybody that I felt like delivered a message to me that struck me in the heart or that moved me, I spent money with.
Right.
And it wasn't always in sales. A lot of the time, like Tony Robbins spent a lot of money with him.
Right.
When I was 18 years old, I spent some money with Grant Cardone cassette tapes, listening to him on the golf cart, waiting for a customer
100%.
to pull in. Anybody, the Zig Ziglars, anybody at all. Jim Rohn was just and that was, Tony's mentor.
Yep.
But anybody that could just speak life into me. I'm going to tell you something about coaches, and I'm going to tell you what they can do, and it's the most magical thing ever. They can move people, to take action because they're moved.
Right.
Listen, I'm so grateful that I started self-developing. I'm so grateful that I'm not the old me. I hated my old life.
Right.
I love the fact that you can literally be around new people. You can read new books. You can be around the right environment, and you can change.
Right.
And most people in 5 years will stay the exact same.
100%.
Okay? So I'll see you today, and then in
Right.
5 years I'll see you, and you're the exact same, or you've roller coasted down.
Right.
And then you'll see somebody else, and they're thriving. They're on fire. They're making more money than ever. They seem fulfilled. They're impacting the world. And you're like, dude, how'd you do that? You know exactly how we did it. Okay? Number one, what it cost you not to know or to not become the person you need to be is everything. And by the way, your family's counting on you. Okay? No one was in my family that was taking us to another level.
Right.
Everybody was just okay with average, and average is everywhere. And look, I'm not hating and saying I don't like average people. But it makes me sick if my potential is more. And I think that what you're after right now is after changing millions of people's lives in total, like, transformation of like, dude, like, this is who you are, this is who you need to become, and this is the results that you're getting, dude. And your family's counting on you. Like, everybody needs to understand this. Like, when I invest in myself, I invest, yes, for me, so I can become who I need to be, so I can do what I need to do. But dude, I invest because my family's counting on me to take us to another level. And dude, I don't take my bloodline lightly.
Right, 100%.
You know,
it's funny because 5 years ago when I went to my first Tony Robbins event, I was 365 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm a big boy. I'm 6'4", right? And, I was making 80 to 100 grand a year. I was able to quadruple my income and make
and
the
your
decisions
health played
that
a
changed.
big role in that,
Yes,
right?
100%. Because when you just said, who's the man that I need to be? What do I need to do? Where do I need to grow in order to reach these goals? There's a gap there that you can't just like wish that it's going to happen. You've got to figure out, what do I need to do to put myself into a position to make myself the man to attract that into my life. At the time I was single, right? Not being able to attract the type of woman. I knew that I needed to make a certain amount of money. I knew that I needed to put forward a better presentation. First impressions are so powerful. I figured if I just looked at least halfway decent, my sales would go up. I'm pretty sure that played a little bit of a role.
What you're seeking seeks you.
What you're seeking seeks you.
Yeah, dude, like whatever you're chasing,
right,
you're turning it on. Winning.
Yes.
Tim Grover says
100%.
Winning doesn't recognize you.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, some people, they want a different life, but winning doesn't recognize them. Okay? They're not doing the work. They're not seeking that. They're not chasing that. They're not, becoming obsessed with it. And if you don't, it's like, dude, you just turn off winning, and winning won't recognize you.
I like what Tim Grover said too recently. I'm reading his book Relentless right now.
Yeah, you told me. That's why I said that.
Yeah, and he says decide, commit, act, succeed, repeat. And I'll tell you what, there's a little bit of a story here that when you had we had an appointment to do this podcast about a week ago, and something came up, and a little personal thing, I won't go into it, but we had to push this back a week.
Yeah.
And it reminded, there was a time where basically I was not quite sure if I was committed to this path. And I reached out to Brandon, and I was like thinking about, hey man, just seeing if I could get the money back, to be able to do something. And then it reminded me, he didn't even have to close me, because it reminded me of a time when I almost did this at my first date with Destiny with Tony Robbins. I could have asked for the $5,000 back, but then I decided to stick it out, and I wrote myself a letter, and I thanked myself for following through on that, because the times where I've quit in the past, you're just reinforcing that muscle of, not following through. When you decide and act, and I realized, okay, the $10,000 or whatever might last me a month or two of expenses or whatever, plus this platinum partnership, it'll get sucked up in a month. But the difference, it won't matter in 6 months when you're making 10, 15 grand a day. Because of the things, because of the connections, because of the conversation and the insights learned from somebody like you.
I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to really know what we're going through right there.
Okay.
So there's a book called The Lynch Pin.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to get it when we're done.
Okay.
And you're going to just chew this book up. And you're just going to want to slap someone in the face.
All right.
Because you're going to realize it talks about, in a chapter, the amygdala.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
And the amygdala is something that sits on your spine. It's real. It's real in your body.
Right.
And what it does is that it's made to protect you. It's made where any time that you do something that feels that it's
unsafe.
Yeah, like
potential danger.
Like you're going into something. It literally will sabotage everything you're after. Let me explain why. Yeah. Because it has to go through that with you. So if you make the decision and you decide to go, your amygdala will fight with you till the death. It will fight for you till the death. It will freaking go to war with you because it's like, all right, son of a bitch. All right, you did this. All right, let's go do this. But it wants to run. It wants to run away. And so like any time that I'm feeling like frustrated and I'm trying to make a decision and I feel, this is why so many people are frustrated their whole life. This is why when you see an offer on the internet or something, it says like, $1,000 and get this course, or $3,000.
Right.
And you're like, $3,000. And then they say, yeah, and you can become a millionaire and you can do this. You automatically say, Nah, man. The reason why is because that amygdala says, no, dude, like, we don't want to do this. Like, just stay where you're at.
Yep.
Keep your money. Hey, by the way, listen, I'm going to explain how to beat any amygdala. Number one, be aware of it.
Okay.
Understand what's happening.
Right.
If you want to never be frustrated again, you need to know every time something comes up, I'm like, dude, not today, bro. We're rolling through this.
Right.
I'm taking your ass straight to hell.
Right.
You're coming with me.
Right.
And it's like, all right, dude, you're sick in the head. Let's go do this.
That's what you have to do when you do the firewalk.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And then guess what? When you're done,
Yeah.
you're like, dude,
That was nothing.
that was nothing,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
And you're like,
Let me
let's
go do it again.
It's like riding a roller coaster. Let's do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but the first time when the bar latches, you're like,
Yep.
let me off the ride.
Yep.
My son's crying. Let me off the ride.
Yeah.
And then when he's done, he's like, let's go back again.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
bro, I just got to get him one time. My daughter,
Yeah.
on our last seminar, we flew in on a helicopter, right, with our kids. And dude, she was tripping.
Yeah.
She didn't realize this thing was gonna go off the ground. She starts
Yep.
crying. She's freaking out. She's going crazy.
Weird feeling.
Dude, she's trying to jump out of the helicopter, which is like, not, we're in a helicopter. Baby,
Yeah.
you can't jump out of it.
Yeah.
Like, she's going crazy. When we land and we get out, she was like, Dad, that was so fun. Can we go again?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's the amygdala. So I want to tell you, when I decided to start my business like you,
Yeah.
and you're talking about the money you spent and all this stuff,
Right.
listen to me. So worth it.
Yeah.
You have no idea. You have no idea who you're going to become. And when you become that person, everybody here, you're obviously already developed.
Yeah.
But dude, there's 50,000 more levels.
Right.
Just like there's 50,000 more levels here.
Yeah.
Once I sold my house in Oklahoma, we sold our house. It was about $1 million house in Oklahoma, which is a nice house in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I spent $700,000 of the $1 million that we sold our house for.
Right.
Self-developing me. The Andy Elliott that you see here,
Yes.
okay, would not be here if my wife and me hadn't agreed that I needed to be trained, coached, and developed to become who we knew that I could be. Now, let me tell you who I knew that I could become. My wife goes, I know you're going to become this. I'm positive of it. I'm a visionary. We played Future Truth. Like, Future Truth, Andy, you're not this now, but I know that you're going to be that. So we're going to get you there. And unfortunately, it takes money.
Right.
And if it was free, you wouldn't even care.
Right. Exactly.
So that, listen, if it was easy to be successful, everybody would be successful.
Right.
And that's why right now, the things that you're doing is going to allow you to become who you're going to become, because you're vested in you. Listen, until you become aware of yourself and you become aware of what you're not good at and you start to understand yourself, most people have no awareness.
Right.
And you become the most dangerous person in the world. I'm telling you, all the things that everybody told me that couldn't happen in my life, didn't happen for people like me, I 1000x'd it.
Yes.
Okay? And here's the cool thing. I'm going to talk about the universe for a minute, because we're going to talk about law of attraction.
Let's do it.
The universe wants to give everyone what they'll earn, not what they deserve, because the universe does not give shit to entitled people.
Right.
It will not, you don't get anything, okay? You get what you earn.
Right.
And right now, you're earning new skill sets.
Yes.
You're earning hundreds of thousands of little micro skills.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, people say, well, hey, how do I learn to be a great salesman? I'm like, okay, well, I can tell you to, like, okay, whoever cares most about the client, like that stuff, that's cool.
Right.
There's hundreds of little
Yes.
micro skills.
Yes.
From the way that you look, the way that you talk, the way that you believe, the way that you speak, the way that you articulate your words. Like, dude, there are hundreds of micro skills
Yes.
in which you must train over and over and over again
Yes.
to become this person
Yes.
that the world wants.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love what you're doing, man. You're going to kill it, dude.
I appreciate
and
it.
you're going to change millions of people's lives. I know it.
I appreciate that. That leads off to another point, because you talked about basically the nuances of tonality and how you deliver your message. This is something that I learned from one of my mentors here, and he has a completely different approach than you. So I'd love to hear your approach on this, because frankly, when I first talked with Brendan, his energy was too high for me, right?
Yeah.
And when I first encountered you, like, while your energy is infectious at times, it also feels like it conflicts with what I was taught with this other coach, that he says, hey, kind of have like a neutral tone, and then you can ramp up the certainty in the assumptive language at the end, but you don't want to trigger. You always want to be disarming and not trigger sales resistance, is what he calls it. So talk to me, because like, it also seems like when I've watched your content recently, you've kind of like toned down your energy a little bit, and I'm not sure if that's just circumstantial or situational, but talk to me about like bringing, how much energy, how do you gauge how much energy you give to a prospect? And is it better to be too much energy than too low energy, or just kind of talk to me about your philosophy with that?
Well, it's simple. Number one, your clients, your job is to set the state for your client. Okay? If you walk into the mall and you're ready to spend some money, if you walk into a store and like there's no music on, and it's quiet, and like it's just boring, like you're probably not going to spend any money. You walk out, but then you walk into the next store, music on, it's like you're like, okay, wait a minute, hold on, let's start throwing shit in the basket. Let's start throwing shit. It's like all of a sudden you love the groove. State, transfer of emotion, take the way I feel and push it into you. So this is different with everybody. So there's not one rule fits all, but this is the rule. I just did this with you a minute ago before we started this podcast. I put myself in your shoes. Okay, and I want you to understand this. Empathy is the greatest selling tool in the world.
100%.
I totally have the way I think, the way I feel. I am me. But, dude, I don't know how you feel. So what I did is I started talking to you, and then I started remembering the frustration that I went through when I started. I started remembering that my wife said, hey, we're running out of money. Like, something's got to change quick. And I started remembering how hard it was to start my business. And so as I'm going through this stuff, I literally put myself in your shoes, and I was like, we need to talk after this. Because like I'm understanding how someone feels. So right when I say hi to someone, I just want them to know that I'm a great person. I love my job. I love what I do. Look, whether you buy something or not, I'm good either way. I just want to make sure that I serve you today. I want to make sure that you're important. I want to make sure that you're significant. I want to know that. I want you to know that, look, man, like I just want to make sure if our product can solve your problem, if it can, then let's do something. And if not, like I love you. I got your back for life. No big deal. But our environment, I want to talk about our environment, okay? Our environment at the Elliott Group is so energetic. It's so loving. You know, a lot of people, when you met them, when you came in today, they probably gave you a hug.
A little fist bump.
A fist bump,
Your
a
wife
high
did.
five.
Your wife gave me a hug.
Yeah, like that's how we operate, right? So, you know, like we trust first. I mean, we're all about like we're family. Like when I used to greet people in any industry I was in, it was kind of like welcome to my home, right? It wasn't like, oh, thanks for coming to X, Y, and Z business. It was like, no, welcome to our home. Listen, you guys are home here. Whatever you need, we got you. What can I get you to drink? Something hot or cold? It's like, dude, immediately we're disarming them with love. So my energy naturally is a little higher state. But if I notice that my energy is like bothering you, then I'm gonna pull it down really quick.
Dial
like we gotta have some. Yeah, we gotta have some common sense, right? Like if people and listen, let's say that you're irritated with my energy. You're either number one going through something. Okay, you don't ever know what someone's going through. And then I'm like, man, I got to turn this guy's mood around. Right. So like, then I got to bring a little humor in. I got to make you feel important. My goal is to get a little closer to you. You know, and really at that point, I'll get you to talk about yourself. Because that would make you feel more comfortable with me. But our goal isn't to go and out energy everybody. But I will tell you, I think that whatever, you know, you put out there is going to come back. So I tend to throw a little more energy out there, and then I tend to see people gravitate more towards it. But if I see it's irritating, then I'll just pull it back.
You do calibrate. So that's interesting because when I was watching you, I said, you know, I probably tend to be more on the boring side of things. You know, if it was a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably a 4. You know,
but you won't be that way for long.
Exactly.
Look,
well, it's the conditioning.
Watch your podcast today. Watch your 100th episode. And you're going to be throwing shit at the camera. Okay. Just remember I said that.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
So just making a bet.
Yeah. So, but what was interesting is I figured, hey, if I think I'm being Andy Elliott energy level, I'm probably like a 6 or a 7.
Well, that's
you know, which is probably fine.
You're okay. So I'm going to say something. The better you get at something, the more confidence you have. The more confidence you have, and you know that what you have is so great that everybody needs it. It's really hard to contain. Okay. And honestly, a lot of people have never believed in anything that much before, so they don't understand, and that's totally okay. And that's why I say, like, for me, I've never lost a sale by coming on with too much energy, as long as my intentions are amazing. I'm not being a showman or a hype guy. And I wear my heart on my sleeve.
You're being authentic.
Yeah, my heart's like right here.
100%.
Like you can just tell. I'm like, man, guys, listen, hey, let's say again, it's remodel, right? Like, because you did remodeling. Listen, if you want to know why I'm so excited, it's because look, your guys are going to get 20 different estimates from 20 different people, and your wife has an idea in her head what this kitchen needs to look like. And I'm just laughing, and it's kind of comical to me because if someone comes in here, no matter how much they pay, whether it's less, whether it's more, it's whatever, and they don't put what your wife has in her head in this kitchen, and she walks out and you spent the money, she's going to be pissed.
Yes, exactly.
Okay? So who do you do business with? You do business with someone that can see what's in your wife's head, which talking to your wife right now, I understand exactly what she wants.
Right.
Ma'am, I see it.
Right.
Look in your kitchen.
Right.
Can you see it?
Right.
So can I.
Yep.
So no matter what they put down on a blueprint, no matter what price they put down, it is priceless to get what's in your head there in that kitchen. Would you agree?
Yep.
Okay. And how would you feel? How would you feel? And I would bring it down.
I like it. I like it.
Yep.
Keep
How
going.
would you feel if they didn't put the kitchen you had in your head and you
100%.
spent the money, whether it was a little too much or it wasn't enough?
Yep.
You would be furious.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why right now, ironclad handshake. Okay?
Yep.
Come on. Ironclad handshake. Put it there. We're going to do a contract. But my grandpa taught me that you look someone in the eyes, and when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to take what's in your head. I'm going to put it in that kitchen, and that's what I'm going to deliver.
Yeah.
Do we
that's
have
certainty.
a deal?
Yeah.
See, but you notice I was really excited about what I do, and then I brought it down, which pulled them in, and then I made the deal.
I do like that.
Yeah, so like people just need to understand how to use the energy in different places. There's times that you need to create the roller coaster ride.
Yep. Exactly.
And then there's times that you need to give information.
Yep.
And then there's times that you need to slow down and close
100%.
and bring people in, right?
Yep.
And that's how Kobe Bryant mastered basketball. And that really is how you're teaching people how to sell and be master communicators.
That's what we talked about earlier. Again, it's not as, you can give somebody the golden script, but it's not what they say, it's how they say it.
Yeah, it depends on who you are.
Yeah, and those are those nuances that we're talking about. So,
can I say something? Whenever
Absolutely.
you lost your weight, right?
Yeah.
How much did that help believe in yourself when you were selling?
Yeah, it was one of those things where, that was something that I struggled with my entire life. And
But did your confidence go up a lot?
Yeah, 100%, because it was one of those things where it was finally something I struggled with for decades, that when I got that win, it was like when I knew I could conquer that was my most challenging area of life. I could conquer almost anything. Yeah,
so I want anybody watching this, I just think it's important that when you train people, when you build them, just remind them, dude, I know that, I'm not a certified health coach, but I will tell you, when you exercise, not only do clients believe that you're going to do what you say you're going to do because you take care of you,
because it's evident.
Not only are you in a better mood for the next 12 hours and you're more pleasant around people, but also there's this cloud when I wake up in the morning sometimes that is on my mind, that I'm trying to find my best, sharpest self, that when I exercise or I'm eating clean, that cloud is gone.
Right.
And I'm so sharp. People are like, man, how are you so sharp? And I'm like, man, the exercise knocks it off me.
Yeah.
It keeps me so sharp like an axe. So I just want to say, sharing your fitness journey and your weight loss journey, I think is super important on the personal development side. If you do this, and you take the training, and you don't even have to train that. I told people for years, I'm like, it's like telling people to get close to God.
Right.
It's like, if I had peace in my life because of God, I'm not selling God. I'm just like, hey, if it was me and I wanted to do this, I would go exercise, I would go stay close to God, and I would train on this program.
Yep.
And you'd be at peace, and you'd love who you are, and then this stuff would work.
And that's kind of what I thought would make me different as a sales trainer, is because of my personal development background that I have with Tony Robbins and being in that world. It's not just about helping companies make more money or salespeople making more money, while that can be life-changing and because it has a ripple effect into other areas of your life. It's about the holistic approach. And that's why I feel like what would make me different, and in that, in that sales coaching,
it will. Bottom line is, you just want to create higher standards.
Yes, 100%.
In lots of different areas,
Yep.
not just in making money. Because if you make a lot of money and you're in low standards and all these other areas, so it's nice to see that. Because, and by the way, that's how you're going to make it too.
Right.
So that's great, and I love that you carry that.
And it's like Tony Robbins' wheel of life exercise. If you've got one area that's really good, like you're making great money, but you got cancer, you'll give anything to have your health back. It's going to make kind of a bumpy wheel, right? If your wheel, instead of being a more well-rounded life.
That's right.
So that's 100%. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, I got a little off track on it, but
No, we're good.
that was
Hey,
good.
Bottom line is we're kicking ass. I
appreciate
love
it.
it. This is an opportunity for people to understand who you are, kind of what we're doing.
Right.
And tell us what's on your mind.
Well, so I want to kind of understand, Tony Robbins talks about suffering and kind of the cycle of suffering. And he basically says at first you're satiated, so like at Leaf Filter, I was making, 20, 30, 40, best month was 50 grand a month in commissions. And so that was satisfied, right? And then there becomes a point where you're no longer satisfied, you're dissatisfied. Oh man, I'm driving, 2 hours to these people's houses and I don't have control of my schedule. I'm working 6 days a week, whatever you're dissatisfied about. And then there's an event that happens where you reach threshold and you say, that's enough, never again, I'm not doing this anymore. And there's an opening, there's a gap that if you don't jump through and take advantage of that and make a change in your life, then you're just doomed to repeat that whole process all over again.
It's a miserable life.
So for you, when you were in car sales, you got into management, what was that like threshold moment for you to be able to make the leap into starting the Elliott Group?
Well, I didn't want to do it. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
And everybody does things for different reasons, okay? I own my own company now.
Yeah.
We built a 9-figure business in 3 years. I made more money than I've ever made in my life, and it was all by accident. Okay?
Interesting.
Thank God somebody betrayed me. Thank God somebody burned me. And my whole life as a kid, I suffered a lot as a kid. Didn't have a lot of love as a kid. My dad was a good guy, loved me, but just not a lot of love. Was very broke. So I wanted to find what I didn't have as a kid as an adult. So when I got into sales, I found income, I found money, and I learned that changed my circumstance and my life and my lifestyle, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But I always tend to become attached to the leaders. Okay, because I was looking for love.
Okay.
I was looking for praise.
Yep.
I was looking for, people to be proud of me. And dude, I would kill to build these people's businesses. And in sales, one of the big things that I've hated my whole life is that when you decide that you're going to pay somebody something and they become heavily invested, from like spending time away from their family to honestly, like a lot of these guys, they're not even at work. I mean, they're not at home anymore. They're really, when they're at work, they're trying to break these records, and they go home. All they're thinking about is tomorrow, what they're going to do in business. And it's like, it steals all your joy because you want to build this stuff for these other people, and you think you're getting somewhere. And then one day they say, hey, we're cutting your pay plan.
That was the threshold moment for me.
So I want to tell you, I started my company because I built a badass team. I spent 5 years building a badass business. I created a culture that could never exist, ever. No one in this world could build what I built. I gave my life to it. I was so proud of it. And it wasn't about the money. I was making good money, but I took this company to a level that it was never doing before, and only to find that one day they said, hey, people that are in your position don't make as much money as you're making. Now, I want to explain to everybody, I was not on a salary. I was getting paid commission. And in sales, there's this thing called money made, money paid. Salaries are things that people with small dreams have. I had a big dream, so I'm paid off a commission. And commission means if you make 100 million, then you pay the percentage of 100 million. If you make $1,000, you get paid the percentage of $1,000. So as you build a business and the revenue numbers go up, clearly the hard work you put in to build the revenue in the business, the percentage stays the same, but the money increases because you earned it. I didn't ask for it. And I was thinking that this whole time that I'm working this way, that they're just so proud of me, right? That they just couldn't believe what I built.
Because you're doing them.
In hindsight, I would have been so grateful for that. In hindsight, it was this. We just don't pay people that much money who do what you do. Now, the second that happened, immediately, it reminded me of all the times I've been betrayed in my life. And I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm 39 years old. I'm sick of getting betrayed, and I never want to get betrayed again. Ever. So the only way that I could not get betrayed again, okay,
do your own thing.
Was to build my own business and decide in my business, number one, I'm never going to lie to anyone. Ask Brendan what I told him. I said, number one, if I ever lie to you, quit. If I ever cheat you, quit. If I ever take my word back, quit. If I ever am not the leader that I said I was going to be, quit. If I do any of these breaking this code shit, you quit and leave me. So my accountability as a leader is to be the greatest example to all of my team and to make sure that they always know that I have their best interest. And by the way, I want to make sure they have my best interest too. This is a two-way street.
100%.
But we protect each other. We created a family. I wanted to make sure that nobody could ever get burned inside these walls again. And so that's why when people come in, even if they're high performers and they're like, hey man, I'm a badass. I can sell anything. I'm like, dude, you're not us.
Right.
Listen, you are a badass. And those companies over there, they need you. But us, like we're a family. And like we're all going to be high achievers, okay?
Right.
But like we run differently. We don't lie, we don't cheat, we don't steal. We have great customer service. We have great core values. We do all these things. So like I always say if you can't find it, build it.
Right.
So that's what I did. So anyways, I ran into it on accident. Hey, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, they say when the pain overrides the fear of change, people change. My pain went so high, I said, dude, I am not scared to start my own business. No matter what anybody said, everybody said it wasn't going to work. People have told you you're stupid. They're going to laugh. They're still going to laugh. And you're going to have to prove that what you're doing is going to work. And they will still laugh until one day they realize that you made it. And they have evidence of it. There's evidence, like evidence, you made it. And they're going to be like, I knew he was going to make it. I was always rooting for him. Dude, listen, man. Okay, you didn't believe in me at all. And a matter of fact, it fueled me. I'm like, I just tell everybody that doesn't believe in me, I'm like, dude, thank you guys. I'm like, honestly, dude, if I wouldn't have had, there's some times that I wanted to quit. Okay. And if I wouldn't have had all that hate, and I wouldn't have been pissed off and I didn't keep that chip on my shoulder, I just reach into that little hate bag. I'm like, what did they say? What did they look like? Oh yeah. I remember that shit. Okay, let's go back to work.
100%.
And then you build, man, you know? So you got to be sick in the head, and that hate is the best thing for you. All the people that laughed at you, all the people who are telling you you're stupid right now. Dude, soak it up and put that shit right here, okay? And then whenever you feel like you're getting tired, be like, what? Oh, okay. Let's go back.
So go back on the ego part, because you were talking about these people, like I'm a badass or whatever. And I noticed on your core values that was one of them, no ego. And so I can tell you from my perspective, I was kind of like you, where I was craving that attaboy, because I was, abused as a child. And it's not about a sob story, but it's like, it was like,
you wanted some love, dude.
Right. And so I found that love in the, hey, Jeremy's the top guy this month, and what are you doing differently or whatever. And so it kind of developed a little bit of an ego there, because finally I did what I felt like I was capable of doing this whole time. And it was like, for once in my life, I had some fucking confidence. And so how, and I think you mentioned, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, these guys have an ego, but it's because they can back it up because they have the results. It's not just I think the difference between confidence and cockiness is you can actually back it up. So talk to me about your core value on no egos, because you kind of have to have an ego to be in sales and be a high performer, I think. But at the same time, there's a difference with the teamwork aspect of it as well. So talk to me about that.
In the Bible, it says pride comes before the fall. Okay. So pride, ego, and entitlement is normally where people lose themselves and become ungrounded to what the original mission is. Okay. There was a time, and I'm totally like, why I love like being an influencer is because I like to tell stories to people so that they don't have to go through the same shit.
Right.
There was a time where I wanted to be this leader. Okay. I wanted my last name to matter. I wanted to build a movement. I wanted to be a part of something special. And it happened.
Right.
After 2 hard years of grind, we started to develop it. And one day my wife goes, I don't like the way you're talking to people. She goes, I don't like who you've become.
Okay.
And I'm like, what do you mean? What's your problem?
Yeah.
And immediately I'm striking her quickly.
Okay.
And she's like, you forgot why we started this. Okay. You're no one. Okay. Those thousands or 100,000s of people, those people believe in you because of who you were and where your heart was.
Yes.
She goes, Andy, be very careful with your ego. Because listen, man, you can self-sabotage. I see people self-sabotage themselves all the time.
Yeah.
This has never been about you. People can see your heart. They can see your eyes. They can see what you care about. They love your skill. They love your story. They believe that you're an overcomer. They know that you believe in them.
Yeah.
Dude, when you start changing that shit and they notice, you're out, Andy. And so that's why, like, I just want to say, I think that ego kills my growth mindset. And the ego almost wrests me back into complacency, like I made it. And I want to tell you this, there is no making it in this game. There is no mountain. And by the way, listen, there is a guy out there that's so good at what he does that he's going to make me look like an amateur. Okay? I'm just training like a motherfucker, so when I meet him, I can dust his ass. Okay? So I just want you to know that, like, hey, my wife says everything can be taken away tomorrow.
Right.
It's the truth.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that I'm not, like, thinking less of myself, but also I'm just, like, leaning into my skills and my competency and my confidence. And, like, I'm just trying not to be, cocky as in I'm better than you. Because really at the end of the day, I am a coach, right?
Right.
So I am a team player. I have a team, okay?
Yep.
David Goggins doesn't have a team.
Right.
David Goggins is like, stay hard, stay away from anybody. Like, stay crazy. Like, he didn't have a team, okay?
Yeah.
So he can be the most cockiest asshole in the game with the strongest mindset, but he's not bringing anyone else with him. Okay?
Yeah.
So, like,
his vision is different.
Yeah. So, like me, I have a team. I have a big team.
Right.
And I teach people that an individual can be beat, but a team can't be beat. So, like, dude, like, your team has to feel where you're at, but also you got to raise the standard.
Yep.
Be a record breaker. You got to be a standard setter. Yeah. And you have to be that person that's just smashing it. But also, so an alpha elite salesperson would be a person that continues to break records every month and raise the bar while also cheering for their team. That guy, everybody loves.
Right.
And I just didn't want to be the record breaker and not cheering for my team anymore. And so anyway, so my wife, she's really good about checking the dog shit out of me, saying, dude, you're not that cool. Okay? Like, don't forget, man. You prayed for this life. You got it now, and you're going to act like an asshole?
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn.
I think what it kind of boils down to is the big takeaway I've gotten from the last couple of Tony Robbins events I've gone to is it's not about you. It's about serving others.
Facts.
So have you read any of like Alison Armstrong books about, okay, so there's a great book called Keys to the Kingdom where it basically talks about a man's growth from a boy and she equates it back to like the medieval times, right? So like a stable boy or whatever taking care of the knight's horses, looking up to that knight that's in his 20s or whatever. And he's out there, slaying dragons and conquering the world and stuff like that. Well, that knight, in order to grow to the next level, which is to be a prince, he has to realize that there's something out there that's greater, more than himself. It's not just about him. So that's when you start to get the family and all that, and you're developing your kingdom. And then in order to go from a prince, knowing that it's not just about you, it's about serving the others, that's how you end up graduating up to being a king. Tony talks about in relationships, how there's seasons, there's ups and downs in all relationships, and in order to go to the next stage in the relationship, it's about service to others. And so what I hear you saying that your wife, when she checks you, it's like, hey, this isn't the Andy Elliott show, right? This is about you serving the thousands or millions of other people out there and making it about them.
Wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever heard somebody say, I met my manager, I could tell he was important, but then I met my leader, and then I felt like I was important. It's like, dude, our goal is to obviously lead by being the example, which is common sense
100%.
for a leader to self-lead
if
first.
you're not doing it, right, if you're not influence yourself, you can't influence anybody else.
That's right. So, like, the self-leading part is natural, but, like, dude, it's about making more leaders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, sometimes I'm like, damn it, babe. Like, I'm like, why did I forget that? Or how did I get skewed? And normally it's just because we're human beings.
I'm going to share something else with you. So there's a part in there where it talks about the tunnel. To go the transition from a prince to a king is you have to go through this tunnel. And the tunnel is just basically about where you have this concept that, man, I should be here. I'm this old. I thought by now I'd be here. And a lot of men die in that tunnel, and they never make it out of that tunnel. But one of the biggest things that can help pull a man through that tunnel is his wife, is his woman.
Yeah. The most dangerous thing in the world is the person you're doing life with.
Yes.
And I mean in a good and a bad way.
Yeah.
Number one, they can cut your legs off. They can make you feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And they can kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. But also, they can build you up.
Yeah.
They can empower you.
Yeah.
They can make you feel strong.
Nurture
they can
you.
support you.
Yeah.
But me and my wife have a rule. So if anybody wants to know how to do that, just in a 10-second conversation, number one, if you treat something like it's a beginning, there'll never be an end.
100%.
So go back to day one, be good to each other.
Yep.
And then number two, be direct with each other. Don't walk on eggshells around each other. Doesn't mean don't disrespect each other.
Yeah.
Fight fair, stuff like that. But but talk to each other, because I know a lot of people, the reason why they fall out of love or they become complacent or they can't grow together is because they have resentment in their life, because at some point something bothered them and they didn't feel like they could speak up. I used to shut my wife up when she would tell me things that I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
And I don't mean shut her up in a bad way, but I'm like, oh, babe, you're nagging me right now.
Right.
And I realized that, dude, there was a time where she quit telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
because
was,
you trained her.
Well, that was when I got in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got in trouble because she quit protecting me because I told her that her opinion didn't matter
Yeah.
in different ways.
Off.
Yeah, dude. And I'm telling you don't want that to happen.
100%.
So I had to eat shit, and then I woke up and I realized that, hey, dude, if I was to die, she's the only one that's going to be there for me. So like, why am I being a dick to her?
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid. I'm pleasing other people that won't be there, and then the person that wants to be there for me, who's trying to protect me, I'm not listening to.
Yep.
And then I switched it. I put her first, which was all she wanted to be the whole time.
100%. Yep.
And the next thing you know, dude, she's supporting me. We're doing life together. She tells me the truth. I understand. See, as a man, the way that you tell me something is the way that I perceive it, right? So I have to listen to what my wife's saying. If it's like, hey, babe, can you pick up your shoes? Yeah, babe, no problem. Right. But it's like, pick your shoes up.
Right.
I'm like, dude, I don't like that shit.
Yep.
So guys or even women, you need to learn on your delivery. And my wife started working on the way she was delivering things to me, but also she goes, I'm not always going to be perfect for you.
100%.
Sometimes I'm going to say something wrong, but just listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so I stopped getting emotional on like how she was saying it.
Yeah. And it's not about you and taking it personally.
Yeah.
Right?
And dude, like, listen, now,
right.
no matter how we say it to each other, which we always know that we have good hearts,
right.
It's like, what is that person saying is how we process it.
The intention behind it.
Yeah. And dude, like, she just wants what's best for me. Or we're trying to, be disciplined. We're trying to, if we can't do the little shit, we damn sure can't do the big shit.
Yep.
So it's like, we're trying to grow together.
Yeah.
And dude, since we did that, my whole company has grown because she really runs it and she's the leader.
I know this isn't a relationship podcast, but I'll just give you one little thing.
But if you miss that and then you learn sales and your home life sucks, you're not going to sell any shit.
It's the same thing, right? And that's why we talk about the holistic training. So there's a little tip I'll give you to how you can talk directly without causing an argument that I learned from Tony. It was called the SEW method, the SO method. S stands for sensation, E stands for emotion, and then W stands for what I want. And so basically it's a way for you to communicate how you're feeling in a way that's not going to trigger an argument, because it's like, hey, babe, man, right now I just feel like I've got this like my pressure on my head. You're getting out of your head and you're like talking about the sensation in your body. And it's like I'm feeling stressed out or whatever. That's the emotion, right? And what I want is just for us to be able to like stop arguing and just go on the couch and go cuddle up for a little bit, And so it's whenever, and I find that I used it on my boss when I was quitting Leaf Filter.
Did you guys cuddle up?
No, but
That was a joke.
no, but it was like I used that technique to be able to talk about what I wanted in a way that was direct, but it wasn't one of those things where you burn a bridge.
Yeah,
either,
the way he perceived it was like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And by the way, basically what you just said is the delivery, which is sales, because the whole
100%.
thing in life is being a master communicator, is being a master closer. That's presenting.
Yep.
Because it's everybody perceives stuff differently, so it's all up to the deliverer.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, you just showed us how to sell your wife to have a good conversation with you.
And you can do that with clients.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're like, have you ever gotten, you know, you're trying to help a client out. I had a coaching client the other day that was telling me about how he got all in his head. He was frustrated because his client wasn't playing ball, he said. You know, he was trying to ask, you know, their needs and wants and find their problems, but they weren't really like participating with the game. And I told him, look, man, you could have used that SEW method where you could have said, you know, folks, like, man, my head, my face is like getting hot because I'm getting frustrated because what I want is to be able to show you the value here of how if you had conditioned water, you wouldn't have to spend all this money on soaps, and the free soaps we would give you would basically pay for the whole water system, let alone the fact of the thousands of dollars you would save on not having calcification on your washer and dryer or your dishwasher or your hot water tank or whatever. And I just want you guys to be able to see the value because I'm trying to help you. You know, and
she's the same deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so you can do it. SEW, sensation, emotion, and what I want.
That's really good, dude.
All right, I appreciate that.
Lots of tricks coming out of the bag.
There we go. It's all about, you know, a well-rounded life.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just because one of the things Tony says, and you were starting to allude on this, was the ultimate failure in life is being successful and not feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately why I decided to leave Leaf Filter, because even though I left a multiple six-figure-a-year job, I didn't feel like I was like saving the world one gutter screen at a time.
Yeah, it's purpose, impact, fulfillment.
Yeah.
Those things mean a lot, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they're younger, they're chasing money, which clearly teaching people how to sell, they're going to make a lot of money. But as you get older, you know, you're just like, man, dude, like, I want heaven on earth. I want to make good money, and I want to be happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it just changes.
Right.
We mature.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So how did you end up, you know, I'm just getting started here. I've got 2 individual clients that are paying me $1,000 a month. All right. And it's just individual reps that work for companies. I've got one family owned modular home dealership, been family owned for 75 years. And then I've got like Tony Robbins' coaching company, Robbins Madonnas, the COO reached out to me to train their internal team, and so she's in Scottsdale actually.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to have lunch tomorrow with her and get that sewn up. Yeah. And then I've got a couple of like big builders that are doing like roofing and stuff like that locally. That may end up being a 6-figure thing. But how did you end up getting like your first like 10 to 20 big clients?
Well, so there's 2 ways you can do it. One is you can go like door to door.
Okay.
Right. You can go to businesses and just,
Yep.
Ask, hey, are you selling at the bottom, the middle, or the top? You know, like, do you feel like you're producing your max deal? What I do is that, and I could use an example. I take home remodeling guides, and obviously there's people in the field, there's people on the phones.
Yeah.
There's quotes to be given, and I'm sure that you guys don't close at 100% closing. Okay.
Right.
So our goal is to take opportunities and then increase, right? So, I don't know where you're closing at right now. This is you because you were in that space.
Yeah.
When I sold, I was number 7 in the country for what I did with this company.
Yeah.
And now I consult companies and I help, close at a higher closing ratio and show people how to do it right, make their customers happy, make more money, which is the whole goal.
Right.
I closed around 70%. The average in the industry is around 30%. I don't know where you're at, but if your team could close at 70, I'm sure that would increase profit margins massively.
Yes. Yeah.
So me being here, I want to talk to you about a program that I have that would get all of your guys to 70%.
Yeah.
And I can show you exactly how I did it.
Yeah.
And then I want to teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And so that'll be like a door-to-door, right?
Yeah.
Like going to businesses. But it is 2024 now almost, okay? So 2024 would be social media.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Which I know how to do it because I did it.
Yeah.
And everybody says, dude, how did you blow your social media up? Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. So there's Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate stormed the internet.
Yeah.
Overnight, he was everywhere.
Yeah.
We pulled an Andrew Tate type deal through the algorithm that blew up our social media.
Okay.
On 5 platforms everywhere.
Yeah.
And overnight, we hit the same deal. And now I teach other coaches also how to blow that up.
Okay.
So I would tell you, if you're like, hey man, if somebody's out there and they're like, I want a lot of business, I'm just going to say, well, common sense is everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
Okay, they're on their phone when they're driving. They're
Yep.
not even watching the road.
Right.
They're on their phone when they're at dinner with their wife.
Yep.
They're not even at dinner.
Yep.
They're on their phone when they're working. They're not even working. They're on their phone. They're on their phone all night long. I mean, they're just on their phone, man.
Yeah.
So if they're on their phone,
Yeah.
that's where you need to
Figure
be.
out how to get in front of them.
Yes, so that's the secret, okay? The
Okay.
secret is to own the internet. That's the secret, okay? But in the beginning, as you're building that, because it takes a minute, I'm just like, so I would write like a top 10 hit list every morning.
Okay.
And I got thrown out of a lot of companies in the beginning because there's a lot of closed-minded people.
Yep.
But then every day I'd, come home, I'd be like, babe, I got one.
Yeah.
Got thrown out of 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I got
You
me
got
one.
Yep.
And like going to companies
Okay.
was very humbling
Yeah.
because they don't know who I was.
Yep.
So, and obviously no one wants to be told they're doing a bad job. So
Yeah.
I had to kind of learn how to make those relationships.
Yes.
And anyways, I got better at it. But I did that in the beginning to sign up some accounts.
Yeah.
And then social media just eventually caught up pretty quick. And then there was that business that came in massively.
That's interesting because the builder, it's funny because I was telling Brendan about this. I kept seeing this truck drive by me on my way home every day or driving to the city. And I saw that they did gutters. And I'm thinking most gutter companies, when I talk to them, they're selling for $5 or $6 a foot.
Sure.
Our cost, like if we weren't making any money, was $12 a foot. What if I could go to these companies and show them how to double their prices and literally triple their profit margins?
Yep.
And that was what ended up getting me in. The guy I called and I got the name of the ops manager or the sales manager, and I didn't even need to talk to him. I ended up driving home, and there's another truck, right? Reticular activating system, right? Pays attention to what's important. I pull into the gas station. I didn't even need to pull into gas. One of your core values is trusting in God. This is a God thing. I'm 100% convinced. And I'm not even I don't even have faith. We'll talk about that another time. I pulled in, and I had 77 miles till empty on my car, so I didn't need to pull over and get gas at that time. I just figured, might as well do it now. The truck builder followed in behind me. So while I'm pumping gas, the guy goes inside and gets a drink or whatever at the on-cue. And then he comes back out, and it was like every time I feel for the last 3 or 4 months, every time I have this inspiration strike, it's like when I feel something telling me inside, go talk to him, go do it. And so that's how I ended up on this podcast with you. I messaged Brendan.
Yep.
Long story short, I get to the guy, I talk to him, I tell him basically kind of like what you just said. I was like, hey, I was the number 7 income earner at Leaf Filter. I see you do gutters. How much do you sell your gutters for? Man, I was selling them for starting off at $18 a foot. Plus I was charging this and this and this. I was pushing $20, $30 a foot sometimes. And then I told him he was like, well, what are you doing now? Because he's sitting here trying to recruit me to come sell for him. And I'm like, well, I actually do sales training and coaching and consulting for companies. And he was like, well, we're actually looking for that. So it's just kind of funny how that worked. Yeah.
And that is, I call it a spirit,
Right.
It's like, dude, and you can't disobey it.
Yeah.
And if you do, it'll eat your ass up for the next couple weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, dude, there was a time. I mean, a lot of the times I'll buy somebody's groceries or somebody's something, and I'm like, dude, like you can just whatever I feel, I do it. But the times that I didn't do it, there was this time that I thought about tipping this lady. It was like $500 or something. But me and my wife at this time weren't really making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And where we were, but we were just paying off all our debt, and it was a time where we weren't buying coffees out. We weren't doing everything. We'd go out to dinner. And I remember I had $500, and I was like, I'm going to give it to this girl. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't talk to my wife about it. So I thought if I gave it to her, she's going to rip my ass.
Yeah.
Maybe she wasn't okay. And then it's kind of funny. I didn't give it to her, and I went out to the car, and it just ate me alive. And I told my wife about it, and she's like, when have I ever stopped you from giving somebody money?
Man, you got to go to one.
Well, but here's what's funny. And I go, I know, man, but I didn't know if it was like the devil. She's like, when has the devil ever pressured you to be generous?
Right.
I'm like, you definitely want the devil,
Yeah,
right?
awesome.
Like, you definitely had to be good. She's
Right.
like, come on, man, don't be a dummy.
Wow.
Well, so I went back in, and she was gone.
Oh.
And then, anyways, I tried to stop by like 5 times
to try to find her.
catch her.
Yeah.
And anyways, last time I went, she wasn't, or when I went back again, they said she didn't work there.
Oh,
and I was
man.
just always like, oh, dang it, I got to fund this lady.
Yeah.
Because I got to fulfill, I got to
Yeah.
finish this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like now when I feel it, like I'll pull
You
a car
listen
over.
to it. Yeah.
Like I'll do whatever. I just
Yep.
need to get it off.
Yep.
Because I need to do it.
And that's kind of what I'm doing. It's like if I see a truck that has the signs on it, I'm like, all right, put a note, call that company, or call them literally on the truck. Hey, you just passed me on the street, man, and you know,
dude, and you'll learn. Listen, it may not happen just then, dude.
Exactly.
Dude, there was things that I did early in my career with my business now.
Yeah.
That literally 2 years later tied in one of our biggest clients, right? One of our biggest clients that we do a lot of business with. That I would never imagine. I was really kind to a bunch of his people and did a lot of things for a bunch of his people.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, he goes, you know, you did some things for some guys that work for me that I thought were very odd and awkward.
Yeah.
And I've watched you from a distance and I've seen, you know, like what you stand for.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what is making my decision up for me about you doing things now.
Yeah.
Because I got to see, you know, the way that you cared then. That's why I'm doing it now. And there was no money changed. I just did some things for some people and helped them. I gave them some free courses for some newer guys.
Yeah.
And dude, like just totally like I just and by the way, I needed them to pay for those things back then.
Yeah.
But I could break the rules. I could give them to them. I could do whatever. And I just did it, man, and it really paid out. So you don't ever know, man, like being good to someone, you know, like when someone else is talking about you, because you are going to make it, you are going to build this shit.
Right.
And one day you're going to be there and they're going to be like, dude, I've met that guy.
Right.
Yeah, I was in his early stages of being successful, but, you know, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
You know, because they always say money just magnifies who you are.
100%. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, so,
Yeah.
you know, right now, if you're after money and you don't want to be good to people until you get money, that's like being a salesperson and people proving to you that they're going to buy right now before that, you know, you give them your best.
Right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know I've taken up quite a bit of your time,
you're
and
good,
I appreciate it.
I love
If
it.
we can
What are the last few things you want to cover?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to see if there's anything else that.
Yeah, while you're checking it out,
Yeah.
here, I want to tell them something real quick.
Good.
Listen, if any of you guys right now are watching this podcast, which clearly you are, and you've made it this far in the video, you're the top 1%, right? So you need to make sure that you subscribe to his channel. You need to make sure that you follow him. It's super important, okay? As he's going to recreate and totally keep changing, and he's obviously coaching other people. You know, when you follow somebody or you reach out to someone who's doing something big, I always say my mentors in life are people that have gone where I want to go. You guys make sure you reach out and get super close to him. It's very important.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, that's one last thing that I would probably say if I had to dial this down to like one last question is some of the people that have been part of the reason why I came back to following you is I could see the people you were running with. And I'm like, man, if he's running with these people, like he's legit. And kind of part of the reason why I wanted to do the podcast with you. Yeah. I think, Ed Milet is like a miniature Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah.
And
he's a super sweet guy, super loving.
Yeah. And
he's a savage.
Yes.
So you don't.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, you can't mistake his kindness for weakness.
100%. Yeah.
He's very loving.
Right.
Yeah. Savage.
And Andy, when I listen to his Real F podcast, man, that dude fires me up to where like I'm ready to like I got to dial it back a little bit when we're talking about the energy thing.
My wife, she always says the same thing. She's like, I can tell you've been watching Andy again.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
and she's like, okay, all right,
yeah.
You've been watching Andy again, haven't you? And I'm like.
And I'm in Ryan Stuman's Apex Entourage group, you know.
Yeah,
so
and he's a savage.
Yeah, awesome guy. So my question is, you know, my ultimate goal, I feel like, is to be able to speak on stage and be able to provide value on stage. So how did you get connected with those guys to be able to speak on those stages? Because that's ultimately, I would say, coaching is great, but like I think I could make a bigger impact, you know, speaking multiple people at once. So talk to me about, you know, give me some advice if I wanted to develop that speaking career and be able to get connected with those types of people.
Just stay on your mission, man. Okay. Just stay on your mission.
Yeah.
You know, there's a thing that you're going to tell your clients this, so you have to take the same advice.
Okay.
What's it going to cost? More than you want to pay.
Yeah.
It's always going to cost more than you want to pay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're just going to have to figure out. It's going to cost a lot of money. There was a time where I wanted to train with Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
And it was like $200,000. And I didn't want to pay that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I also needed to get close to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I also needed to grow. And I
Right.
also needed to build a business like he had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So number one, can I afford it? I can, but it's going to strap me like
Yeah.
no other. And I go, well, when have I done my best? When my back's against the wall.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. All right, so if I spend the money and he teaches me what he knows and I know that I believe in him and I can go down there and spend some time in proximity with him,
Mm-hmm.
even though I don't want to spend this money, I also don't want to go on and not know what he knows. And I've seen what he's built.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pay it. And I'm going to put my back against the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bet on me. And I'm going to bet the farm on me. And, dude, I came back and I kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah.
And every opportunity that I've gotten to spend any amount of money with anybody that I believe in, that's why when you're like, hey, man, I spent, $80,000 with Tony Robbins, I'm like, dude, spend $200,000 with him.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, the abundance mindset has got me in the farthest. I would go to dinner when I was younger with people, and even now, like, I'll do it. I just did it last night. I went to dinner with the owner of Apricot Solar, the second largest solar company in the world.
Okay.
And I fought him for the ticket. Well, number one, I ended up paying.
Yeah.
Okay, because you can't beat me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's physically impossible. But I remember, and I can afford it now, but still, I still have this standard that I pay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I will pay. And if 20 other people end up joining us, and I don't like that because I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be a big ass bill now. I'm still paying.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way I roll.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't go to dinner a lot with people. I don't go do stuff. So when I do, like, I'm gonna pay. But I want you to remember or think about this. When I was younger, I went to dinner with some high level people. Okay, when I first started my company, I had a chance to go to dinner with some high level people. I got invited to a table, and at the end of it, there was a $20,000 bill. Okay, and I knew the guy that was at the end was going to pay for it. I knew it, but what I did is that I paid for it.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "Hey, who bought dinner?"
Yeah.
And he didn't know my name.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, Andy bought it.
Yeah.
And he walked down there and he goes, "Dude, that took some balls, man."
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what happened next. He's like, "I want to get you on my podcast."
Nice.
And that podcast probably made me $2 or $3 million.
Awesome.
$20,000.
Right.
And I didn't know what was going to happen,
Right.
but I knew that I needed to show people. By the way, it's not like I gave that and I knew what I was going to get.
Right.
Dude, there's just this abundance mindset that you have to have and understand that, dude, this is no longer about money.
Yeah.
This is about having the courage to take risks.
Yeah.
This is about understanding what you're worth. This is about understanding that everything we were taught as kids, everything that we were programmed in school, all of that shit is fucking fake. All that shit is bullshit. It's all wrong. It was all made us to go get a 9-to-5 job,
Yes.
have low dreams
Yep.
and small dreams and not win.
Not buck back.
Dude, we were trained to be freaking
Slaves.
factory workers.
Yeah, exactly.
We were like
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's cool. Like, but once you know that the game you're playing, that the rules changed,
Yep.
and that's not the game anymore.
Yep.
You're like, dude, okay, so like, what they taught me to do that I've been doing that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can someone show me what does work?
Right.
And then I paid to get around
That's
those
exactly
people.
it. That's how you're going back to the mentoring and the modeling.
Yeah,
and all
and
of that.
and,
Yep.
and dude, like, those people got it.
Yep.
They made it.
Yep.
You don't think they had adversity? You don't think they got laughed at? You don't think everybody made fun of
Right,
them?
right.
Dude, you don't think they went through shit?
Yep.
You don't think people burned them?
Yeah.
Dude, all that shit happened. But you know what? They loved it because they knew where they were going, and they were going to get there one way or another, and it didn't matter.
That was the inspiration that made me start this business. And this kind of, I think it's a perfect way to kind of close this interview up because it kind of goes full circle back to where we started, was about mentoring. So I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within, the virtual event a couple months ago when I decided to join Platt. And he said, anytime you want to master a skill. You've got to do three things. And forgive me if I'm saying this again for a second time or something.
I
think
it's important we recap.
Yeah, number one is finding somebody that has outstanding results, model what they've done. So like you said, you paid to be around those people to get the same recipe.
Yeah.
If you got the best chocolate chip recipe in the world, you make it in the same order, you're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
So
you want to meet the baker.
Yeah.
Dude.
100%. And pick his brain, you might
him,
be able to figure something else out.
Yeah.
And then number two is total immersion, immersing yourself in the environment.
Yeah.
And number three is constant spaced repetition. So what I decided to do with my coaching business is like, hey, if you're a home remodeling company, whether you sell windows, solar, walk-in bathtubs, leaf filter, gutter screens or whatever, if you want me to come out to your home, just like a client is when the lead comes in, that we send those people, our reps, out to a company with no guarantee that there's going to be any business, right? But we go out there to give them a quote, find out what their needs are, and close, 60, 70% of the time.
Right.
I would go out to a company and be a fly on the wall, listen to your reps, see where they're possibly missing out on sales and what that would translate to in a total bottom line for you. And if we're talking, if we're a $14 million organization, you got 14 reps, each doing $1 million.
You just doubled your business.
Easily.
Yep.
And that's the thing. It's like, even if we only added 5 million and made them from a 15 million to a 20 million, what's that going to do to their bottom line, that owner's bottom line?
Yeah.
And so like, that's how I decided I was going to do my structure, because I knew I would never make $1 million a year at Leaf Filter, but if I just had 10 clients, at 100,000.
Yeah, and help people.
Yes,
which
exactly.
is heaven on earth.
And that's the thing is like, it's not about the money anymore. It's about the service to the companies, because if I can, help a rep go from making 50 to 100 grand a year to making 200 grand a year, and multiply that by 10, 14 reps in the office. Take an owner who's not just owning a business, but operating a business, and allowing him to step away from the business a little bit, be able to have systems in place from everything I'm learning with business mastery and everything, to where he can enjoy the time with his family and enjoy the business life priceless. A lot more. All of that. Exactly. It's money is just the byproduct of the service that you're giving to other people. So the more service I can give.
How does someone reach out to you? Like, can they text you?
Yeah, texting is probably the best way.
Yeah, So what's your
phone number is 405-274-2326. 405-274-2326.
You know what I love right now is that if somebody reached out to you, I'm going to tell you this. When I started building my business, I had a lot of information. I had a lot of things to give. I had more time to give.
Yeah.
I was so hungry to attack this. The first people that reached out to me in the beginning, I grew and blew their shit up like no other, because I was so eager to get my first big testimonies.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I needed them. So anybody right now that's watching this, shoot him a text message if you really want to grow in sales. Whether you're in business, whether you're an individual, he clearly coaches individuals. He coaches big businesses. And when somebody has something to prove, everybody always wants a lot of attention, right? So I'm like, dude, when somebody gets really big and they have millions of people, you're not going to get that attention anymore. So the goal is that the people that got the most out of me, I mean, really, in the beginning and a lot of my time, and were the people in the beginning, And I did some of my biggest developing with people early on, because I could have the most hands-on.
Right.
So I feel like the next probably 10 clients that you take on are probably going to get more of you than anyone will ever get, and I know that you're going to take it personal.
Right.
Which is what people pay for, to take their numbers personal, and you're probably going to help them kick that ass. So
I'm laughing because my first client that literally, when you said I accidentally did this, that's how I kind of started this business. I accidentally sold a couple people, and my first guy, he was for Rebeth. He averaged $80,000 to $100,000 a month, which is okay. And his first month of working with me did $185,000. And it's like the $1,000 he invested in.
Well, because you're a high achiever, and now you're dealing with somebody else who wants to be a high achiever, and the things that you did that made you achieve high numbers, you taught him, and now he can get what you have.
Yeah, in 1 month.
Yeah, well,
and
well, it doesn't take long. Like
Right.
coaching, having a personal coach is life changing.
Yeah.
Okay, and everybody needs a coach.
Yes.
Everybody,
Everybody.
even me. I have coaches. Everybody has a coach because we all know we have so much more in us, and we want someone else to help positively peer pressure us to become more and to want more. And that's it. Like somebody's got to talk shit out with somebody. You know what I mean?
And that's the reason why people go to these Tony Robbins events, and it's like they think, oh, this is just motivational. You're jumping up and yelling and screaming and dancing.
Yes, no,
and it's like, no, that's not what it is. And the difference between somebody like me that tripled or quadrupled their income and dropped 130 pounds was because I didn't just attend the event and then go back home and fall back into my old routine.
Executed.
I had a coach. And that coach helped me raise my standards up and double my income on that standard and lower my weight and all that stuff. And so the difference between the people that it's just a rah-rah event and becomes life-changing is because they hire a coach and they keep the momentum going.
That's right.
That's right. I love it.
Guys, well, hey, I want to tell you, number one, dude, awesome. This is the first podcast. I can't wait to see you on podcast 100.
Yes, sir.
And then on the other side, you're going to know that there's someone today that's not paying attention that should be, and you're going to make sure that you push that shit through that camera to get a hold of them, because just like you changed, I changed, we all changed, you're looking for the next big success story. And that's it, man. So, you just increase your state, you love what you do more, and then, it's just like, it's like hula hooping. Your first day of hula hooping, you can't be very good at it.
Right.
But once you do it 100 times or 100 days, I mean, like, dude, you come in the room, it's like people are like, dude, you've been doing this your whole life.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, dude, it's just I put the reps in, which is what you said on the last thing that Tony Robbins. You got to practice. You got to put the reps in. You got to,
space repetition.
Yeah, space repetition. So, anyways, much love, dude.
Thank you, Andy.
Kill it, man. I know you're going to go super far, and we support you every step of the way.
You,
okay.
Sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Let's kill it.